It's midnight and you tune into Nightline with me, Zahir, Kelvin and Abdullah. The top stories. Cabinet agrees to limit Prime Minister's tenure to 10 years. And Port Klang bust nets over 158 tons of smuggled e-waste and copper. The government has agreed to limit the Prime Minister's tenure to a maximum of 10 years or 2 full terms in a move aimed at preventing the excessive concentration of power and strengthening the country's democratic system. Several amendments to the federal constitution to implement this proposal are scheduled to be tabled in Parliament during the current sitting. According to Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Law and Institutional Reform, Dato Sri Azalina Othman Said, the agreement was reached at the weekly cabinet meeting on Friday following a thorough review of policy inputs, public feedback and recommendations submitted through stakeholder engagement sessions.
Ini merupakan satu langkah bersejarah yang penting dalam agenda reformasi institusi kerajaan madani. Ia mencerminkan komitmen kerajaan madani sebagai kerajaan yang walk the talk dalam melaksanakan agenda reformasi demi kepentingan rakyat dan negara.
The move is also an important step to strengthen the principles of accountability, checks and balances and constitutional-based governance, as well as enhance public trust in the nation's leadership institutions. The proposed term limit for the country's #1 post is part of several institutional reforms announced earlier this month by Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim. Other reforms include legislation on the separation of powers between the Attorney General and public prosecutors, as well as the establishment of an ombudsman and the Freedom of Information Act. Meanwhile, the proposal to limit the Prime Minister's term of office is being hailed as a major reform that could inject new life into Malaysia's democratic system. Transparency International Malaysia President Raymond Ram said the policy would serve as a critical check and balance mechanism, ensuring more dynamic and accountable national leadership while reducing the risk of power being abused through prolonged rule.
The purpose of a 10-year limit is not to deprive any individual of the chance to serve or contribute to the country. It is to prevent stagnation, excessive concentration of power, and innovation fatigue, while creating space for proper succession planning and leadership renewal.
Army Western Field Commander Lieutenant General Datuk Malik Razak Sulaiman has been appointed as the new Armed Forces Chief effective Sunday. Defence Minister Datuk Sri Muhammad Khalid Nordin said the Yang di-Pertuan Agong Sultan Ibrahim had consented to Malik's promotion to the rank of General and his appointment to the post. Malik's appointment followed the recommendation of the 633rd Special Armed Forces Council meeting held last Thursday and received the King's approval on Friday. The 24th Armed Forces Chief had served in the military for 40 years since 1985, holding various command and staff positions throughout his service. The Defence Ministry said his extensive experience and credibility are expected to strengthen the leadership and operational capability of the Malaysian Armed Forces in facing current and future defence challenges. The ministry added that the appointment will further enhance the stature of the armed forces through leadership grounded in integrity and professionalism while maintaining public confidence in the nation's defence institution. Meanwhile, commenting on the appointment, Khalid said it comes at a challenging time for the armed forces but could help restore the institution's image and reputation.
Beliau dilantik dalam keadaan dan suasana yang mencabar bagi Angkatan Tentera Malaysia dan tentunya antara tumpuan yang beliau akan berikan ialah sama-sama dengan kementerian untuk memulihkan imej dan reputasi Angkatan Tentera Malaysia.
Khalid added that he's confident Malik will work closely with the ministry to uphold integrity and strengthen good governance. However, he stressed that these efforts can only succeed with mutual understanding and cooperation, not only at the leadership level, but across all ranks within both the ministry and the armed forces. The Malaysian Border Control and Protection Agency, MCBA, has intercepted 158.1 tons of illegal electronic waste or e-waste and copper cargo in Port Klang, Selangor. Its Director General, Datuk Sri Shuhaili Muhammad Zain, said the prohibited items were uncovered in 6 falsely declared containers, thwarting another attempt by syndicates to smuggle scheduled waste into the country. According to Shuhaili, the discovery was made during a multi-agency enforcement operation at Westport at around 5 p.m. on Friday. Inspections on the containers found that 5 of them were loaded with 127 tons of circuit boards, industrial fuses and mixed copper materials. Another container carried more than 30 tons of copper wire cables. Shuhaili added that the containers carrying the e-waste have been placed in a secure holding area pending directives from the Selangor Department of Environment and headquarters for re-export. Earlier this week, MCBA blocked more than 125 tons of e-waste and toxic materials from entering the country, also in Port Klang. The items were smuggled in containers falsely declared as carrying other goods shipped from the United States, South Korea, Spain and Taiwan. The restoration of the Sultan Abdul Samad building stands as clear evidence of the government's commitment to developing Kuala Lumpur as a modern and dynamic city without neglecting the nation's history and cultural heritage. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim said the initiative also reflects Putrajaya's determination to ensure Malaysia's heritage continues to endure for the appreciation of future generations. Anwar expressed the commitment in his speech at the completion ceremony of Phase 1 of the restoration works on the Sultan Abdul Samad building on Saturday. The ceremony was officiated by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong Sultan Ibrahim.
Pemuliharaan bukan semata-mata usaha untuk mengulang nostalgia, tetapi ikhtiar untuk memastikan sejarah negara Malaysia tercinta dari Perlis sampai ke Sabah harus sentiasa berakar, segar, dijadikan pedoman agar generasi ini dan generasi penerus tidak akan gelojoh dan tersasar daripada cita-cita dan idealisme murni perjuangan.
Anwar added that heritage assets should not be viewed as burdens of the past, but rather as strategic assets capable of generating tourism. Such assets also have the potential to stimulate the creative industry, create employment opportunities, and strengthen the local business ecosystem. Following a full year of restoration works, the opening of Block 1 of the Sultan Abdul Samad building marks the completion of the first phase of the comprehensive conservation effort of the historic complex. The block now houses the Kuala Lumpur City Gallery, which traces the journey of the iconic building and the capital city through 5 themed spaces spanning 3 centuries of history. In a social media post on Saturday, Anwar expressed his hope that the Thaipusam celebration observed by Hindus in Malaysia will bring peace of mind while fostering continued mutual respect and harmony within the country's multi-ethnic society. The Prime Minister said the celebration embodies the values of sacrifice, enlightenment and spiritual strength. He added that the patience, discipline and perseverance displayed throughout the worship should be respected and appreciated by all. Anwar also noted that the order and harmony observed during religious and cultural celebrations in the country demonstrate that living together despite differences is not unfamiliar, but a way of life that has long shaped Malaysia's identity. Sunday marks the peak of Thaipusam, a vibrant Hindu festival where devotees carry kavadi, ornate structures symbolizing devotion to fulfill vows and seek blessings. Far from dying out, the intricate art of kavadi making is being passed down to the younger generation, keeping this cultural heritage alive for the future. The art of making kavadi demands a unique blend of skill, creativity and dedication, qualities that are not easily cultivated. Yet more and more young people are showing interest in learning the craft. For Kavadi maker Satish Raj, passing on the craft to the younger generation is both a passion and a responsibility, ensuring that this century-old tradition continues to thrive.
So dia orang melalui TikTok, dia ambil nombor saya, dia orang contact, cakap abang macam ni saya nak belajar buat KWD. So setakat ni untuk zaman sekarang tak banyak orang suka buat macam ni. So saya pun tak percaya. Tapi tengok untuk dah 3 tahun lebih dah, sekarang ni dia budak ni semua dah boleh buat satu KWD. Kalau saya pun sini tak ada, dia orang boleh pasang, dia orang boleh set up satu KWD.
He added that the learning process is carried out in stages, beginning with observation before the students create their own kavadi under his guidance.
Saya masa akan datang yang berminat untuk membuat kavadi, saya akan mengajar untuk mengekalkan tradisi kavadi ini pada hari Thaipusam.
To preserve the traditional and religious values, Satish was taught by his father to make kavadi using only peacock feathers. Each kavadi requires an estimated 1,000 to 3,000 feathers to complete.
Yang saya kasih ajar untuk saya punya adik-adik sekarang ni untuk buat kavadi tu, first thing follow traditional, kita punya old traditional. Second thing, jangan macam nak cakap buat terlalu over. Sebab kita punya culture ni je. Kita boleh buat design-design baru, tapi itulah buat macam apa yang ada maksud.
Beyond its religious significance, the art of kavadi also reflects the richness of fine craftsmanship with colorful decorations, handcrafted structures and symbolic elements passed down through generations. The Education Ministry has identified over 3,000 under-enrolled schools nationwide, each with fewer than 150 students as of November last year. Its Deputy Minister Wong Kar-Wah said several measures are being taken to address the issue, including relocating schools to areas with greater demand. Wong stated that the figure included national schools, Chinese national type schools and Tamil national type schools. Some groups will be maintained, including by combining students from different year groups into a single class. He also emphasized that education will remain accessible even for schools with as few as 30 or 50 students if there is a genuine need in the community.
Walau bagaimanapun, demi kelangsungan, katakan sekolah-sekolah yang kurang daripada 5 orang murid, 10 orang murid, maka kita mencari jalan.
Wong was speaking of the groundbreaking ceremony of SJKC Central Site, which has been relocated from Ladang Gomali in Segamat to Taman Eco Flora in Johor Bahru after enrollment dropped to just 5 students. The new 20 million ringgit school, funded through corporate social responsibility contributions, is expected to be completed by the second quarter of 2027 and will be able to accommodate up to 1,250 students. Malaysia is intensifying efforts to boost exports to Central Asia and Africa, 2 regions showing strong growth as emerging trade partners. Malaysia External Trade Development Corporation, MATRADE Chairman Datuk Sri Rizal Marikan highlighted the potential in these markets, citing a nearly 226% year-on-year surge in exports to Kyrgyzstan in 2025. Rizal said key products for both markets include crude palm oil, halal products, pharmaceuticals, medical devices and automotive-related goods.
Dalam keadaan kita dianggap sebagai the premier promoter of halal, MIHAS kan, Malaysia International Halal Showcase telah diangkat oleh Guinness Book of Record terbesar di dunia, maka branding dah kuat. So pasaran yang macam seperti ini akan menjadi pasaran yang membawa limpahan kepada kita.
Besides Kyrgyzstan, exports to Yemen rose by 49.7%, followed by Tanzania, Togo and Angola. Meanwhile, exports to Uzbekistan, Algeria and Kenya recorded their highest annual values. Last year, Malaysia's exports reached a record high of 1.6 trillion ringgit, led by ASEAN, China, the United States, the European Union and Taiwan, which together accounted for 68.3% of total exports. Malaysia capped off a solid economic performance in 2025 by posting a record high 3.061 trillion ringgit in total trade. The key question now is how the country can build on this momentum in 2026. Nightline's Muhammad Nadir Azfar has the details.
Malaysia's strong 2025 trade performance marks a positive start to the year and reflects resilient economic activity. The focus now is on strengthening the sectors that have room to grow and ensuring the conditions are supportive for continued expansion. The milestone marks the first time Malaysia's total trade has surpassed the 3 trillion ringgit threshold. The figure represents a 6.3% year-on-year increase, up from 2.879 trillion ringgit in 2024 and 2.637 trillion ringgit in the previous year. This steady progression over the past 3 years underscores Malaysia's sustained economic growth in the post-pandemic period. Appearing as a guest on TV3's flagship business and financial talk show, Money Matters, which was aired on Saturday, Malaysian Institute of Economic Research (MIER) Executive Director Tan Sri Sulaiman Mahbub noted that fiscal reforms must complement trade and investment strategies in order to sustain this growth.
It's important that we support industries that have potential to grow. It's very important. To those industries which are going to be very productive, which can give a lot of value addition to the economy, we should support them. I was once the chairman of MIDA, for example. We cannot give across the board, We must identify the value chain.
Sulaiman also said the record high figures send a positive signal to investors that Malaysia's economic direction is on an upward trajectory, reinforcing confidence in the country's growth prospects.
It should sense a strong sense of confidence that the economy is well managed. That this is a place to make good business, and therefore I think they may want to consider to relocate a lot of the investments over this country. I think that should be the first thing the way I see it, how investors see it.
Malaysia's record-breaking trade performance has laid a solid foundation for 2026. With the government poised to harness this momentum to attract investment, strengthen key industries and drive sustained nationwide economic growth. Muhammad Nadir Asfar, TV3.
Cops intensify hunt for Captain Prabha gang. More from the local front after this breather.
Memang sedih sangat-sangat. Tak tahu nak kata macam mana. Sakit sangat-sangat. Dapatan habis semua. Dalam perut semua. Tuhan saja yang tahulah.
Saya akan bagi semangat dekat dia. Saya tak akan bagi dia down lah. Syukur Alhamdulillah lah. Dengan kawan-kawan bagi semangat untuk suami. Dia nak suami saya sembuh balik lah macam dulu balik.
Kalau ikut pilihan kita punya bunga kan, kalau bunga ros gulung-gulung lepas lipat-lipat baru susun-susun lipatan itu. Penyediaan daun getahnya untuk dibuat kraft tangan, kita pergi ladang lah. Kalau mau pilih yang cantik-cantik barulah pelawak itu bunga.
Perlu ada satu gaya pemakaian topi untuk tempat kita lah. Negara kita ni kan duduk dalam garisan khatulistiwa, iklim dia iklim tropika. Jadi saya namakanlah gaya tropika.
Setiap kes yang dilakukan pembunuhan, suspek akan menjilat darah mangsa.
Dapat air mani pada cadar dan juga luar dalam si mati.
Suspek ini, dia tahu bahawa si mati ini seorang yang tidak berdaya.
Setiap langkah mencipta cerita halus namun berkesan.
Cubalah pandai-pandai bawa diri, kita sedar diri, dan the rest kita in this line apa yang boleh kita give back to the society.
Saya rasa daripada kecil memang saya minat binatang lah. Kalau masa kita pergi kedai makan tu kan, kalau kucing-kucing tu memang biasa saya peluk cium lah.
Yang buatkan saya tertarik dengan wabi-sabi ialah warna dan juga tekstur untuk setiap ruang.
Welcome back. Police are intensifying their hunt for the remaining members of the organised crime syndicate known as the Captain Prabha Gang. Bukit Aman Criminal Investigation Department CID Director Dato M. Kumar said the operation includes suspects, including the gang's mastermind, believed to have fled abroad. Previously, 3 individuals on the police wanted list allegedly linked to the Captain Prabha gang were charged in the Sepang Sessions Courts for being members of an organized crime group. The trio, believed to be senior members of the gang, were detained by Indian authorities at Mumbai International Airport last Sunday before being deported to Malaysia. Efforts to track down the remaining gang members continue under Op Jack Sparrow, which aims to dismantle the entire criminal network.
Kita percaya ada yang dah ke luar negara menggunakan saluran tidak resmi. Tapi cuma satu saja saya nak cakap. You boleh lari, tapi you tak boleh sembunyi selama-lamanya daripada pasukan polis di Raja Malaysia. You can run, you can never hide from us.
Kumar told this to reporters after attending the 2026 Community Policing Program in conjunction with Thaipusam celebrations at the Sri Subramania Swami Temple in Batu Caves. In Perak, a 64-year-old man has been arrested in connection with the death of a stray dog near Batu Gajah. The animal was found dead last Wednesday, believed to have been killed by firecrackers thrown by the suspect. District Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Muhammad Noor Ahihawan Muhammad said the suspect was detained at a shop in Pusing at about 11 p.m. on Friday following a report lodged by a 39-year-old man regarding the death of the stray dog. Initial investigations indicate that the incident occurred when residents heard a loud explosion before discovering the dog lying dead by the roadside near a restaurant with blood around its mouth. The suspect has been remanded for 2 days until Sunday to assist with investigations under the Penal Code for killing or maiming an animal. If convicted, the suspect faces a maximum of 3 years imprisonment, a fine, or both. In Kuala Lumpur, a man dressed as the comic book superhero Spider-Man was injured after reportedly getting lost on a hiking trail in Bukit Dingding. The victim is believed to have fallen 20 meters after becoming exhausted while trekking through the forest.
You okay ke? You okay ke? Boleh bangun ke? Hello, boleh bangun ke?
The injured man was found by a group of hikers at around 5 p.m. on Friday. The group initially thought that the victim was resting before realizing that he was hurt. They then contacted the authorities, who arrived promptly at the scene. Rescue personnel had to hike 1 kilometer along the trail and an additional 70 meters off trail before locating the victim.
Because we don't know how to handle things.
The man was then handed over to medical staff for initial treatment before being sent to the Kuala Lumpur hospital. Later on Saturday, another group of hikers managed to find the victim's bag, which contained another Spider-Man suit along with his personal belongings. One of the hikers then delivered the items to the victim's home. The man has since been discharged from the hospital. Separatist attacks in Pakistan killed 21. The details when Nightline returns.
Kalau ikut pilihan kita punya bunga kan, kalau bunga ros gulung-gulung lepas lipat-lipat baru susun-susun lipatan itu. Penyediaan daun getahnya untuk dibuat kraft tangan, kita pergi ladang lah. Kalau mau pilih yang cantik-cantik barulah lawak itu bunga.
Perlu ada satu gaya pemakaian topi untuk tempat kita lah. Negara kita ni kan duduk dalam garisan khatulistiwa, iklim dia iklim tropika. Jadi saya namakan gaya tropika.
Dia telah tiada, namun suaranya tidak akan pernah padam. Sebuah karya yang mengangkat kebenaran yang cuba dilenyapkan, simbol kegagalan dunia dalam melindungi nyawa yang tidak berdosa. Paparan kekejaman tanpa batasan. Setiap titisan air mata adalah gema kesedaran sejagat yang menggoncang dunia. The Voice of Hind Rajab. Sebagai tanda solidariti, bersama kita teruskan perjuangan ini.
Dah suami tu sakit macam ni, apa pendapatan kami memang down lah. Anak-anak pun inilah, tapi mengingat kita buat macam mana, kadang-kadang tak di Allah kan, bukan kita yang nak minta semua tu. Tapi mungkin Allah nak uji kita dengan kesabaran kita macam ni. Tengok kita boleh reda ke? Tak ke? Tapi saya nak minta satu-satunya. Siapa tak sayang suami, saya sayang suami saya sungguh. Saya sanggup buat apa saja untuk suami saya. Start dia sakit ni, saya akan semangatlah untuk sembuhkan dia. Saya akan urutkan dia bagi sembuh. Sebab saya pun duduk dengan dia dah 18 tahun dah. Saya nak suami sihat betul-betul. Saya akan bagi semangat dekat dia. Saya tak akan bagi dia down lah. Tapi adik-beradik pun semangatlah bagi dekat saya untuk bagi saya down, untuk nak buat macam mana dah. Saya tahu suami saya sakit macam tu. Saya terima.
Onto the foreign front. Hundreds of thousands of protesters took to the streets of Minneapolis and other big cities on Friday as part of nationwide demonstrations against U.S. President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown. Organizers, led by the National Grassroots Organization 501, said the protests are a response to a series of recent deaths involving federal immigration agents, including the fatal shootings of Alex Petty and Renee Good in Minneapolis earlier this month. Crowds marched holding signs blasting Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, the agency leading Trump's mass deportation effort.
We'll never be defeated! The people united will never be defeated!
Protests also took place in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago and Washington, D.C., with organizers urging Americans to stay home from work and school.
I am very, very upset about what's going on in our country right now. We are destroying our country. We're destroying all of the democratic freedoms we have. We're killing innocent people. We're breaking families apart.
The numbers we show up, it's cold, but we show up. They mess with the wrong city.
What's the goal? What is the objective of the march? What do you want to see happen?
People to listen, people to know we're not happy, and to get ICE out.
The organizers said more than 300 demonstrations were expected to take place across all 50 states and Washington, D.C. on Saturday. Demonstrators are also expected to gather at airports to protest airlines, including Global Crossing Airlines, that transport people as part of federal deportations. Protesters are also calling for lawmakers to block funding for the Department of Homeland Security until ICE and Customs and Border Protection agents are removed from communities. At least 31 Palestinians, including 6 children and several police officers, have been killed in the Gaza Strip since dawn. An Israeli airstrike on Saturday on a tent sheltering displaced people in the Mawasi area northwest of Khan Yunis killed at least 7 Palestinians, including 3 children. In Gaza City, 5 more Palestinians were killed when an Israeli airstrike hit an apartment building in the Rimal neighborhood. 8 others were injured in a separate bombing of an apartment building in the Daraj neighborhood. The violence comes as Israel is set to reopen the Rafah crossing on Sunday for the first time since May 2024. Separatists launched coordinated attacks across Pakistan's Balochistan province on Saturday, killing at least 10 security personnel and 11 civilians, the latest violence in the insurgency-hit southwestern region. Among the civilians killed were 3 women and 3 children. Several police stations in the provincial capital of Quetta were targeted by alleged ethnic Baloch gunmen in an attack that began at about 3 a.m. local time on Saturday. Officials said dozens of militants were also killed in clashes triggered by the attacks, which came a day after the military said its forces had killed dozens of ethnic Baloch insurgents. The Balochistan Liberation Army, the most active separatist group in the province, had claimed responsibility for the attacks. Baloch separatists have previously targeted civilians believed to have collaborated with state agencies. On to sports now. Football, the Super League. 3 matches were played on Saturday. Kuching City FC secured a convincing 2-0 victory over Negeri Sembilan FC, while Penang FC were held to a 1-1 draw against Kelantan, the Real Warriors FC. Brunei DPMM FC also had to settle for a share of points after playing out a 1-1 draw against Melaka FC. Playing at the Stadium Negeri in Kuching, Sarawak-born Gabriel Nistelrooy gave the hosts an early lead just 10 minutes into the match, capitalizing on a defensive missed pass. Kuching then wrapped up the 2-0 win when Ronald Ngah Wanja struck from close range, securing all 3 points and lifting the Cats to second in the league with 31 points. Badminton now, the 2026 Thailand Masters. Goh Jin Wei became the first Malaysian women's singles shuttler to reach a Super 300 World Tour final after defeating compatriot Wong Ling Ching in Bangkok on Saturday. World number 68 Jin Wei came back from a game down to defeat the current national number 2 player Ling Ching 17-21, 21-17, 21-16 in a 57-minute match. She had previously reached the semi-finals of Super 500 events at the Malaysia Masters in 2019 and the Hong Kong Open in 2023. Jin Wei will face India's Devika Sehag for the title on Sunday. As we wrap up Nightline this time around, let's take a look at visuals of Moscow buried under heavy snow as the city experiences its largest snowfall in over 200 years. With that, I'm Zahir, Kelvin Abdullah. Thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of your weekend.